Hey guys, well, it's Wednesday and I'm gonna go over here and do a little cutting this morning. I got this Durango back. It needed some work. I put a new exhaust system on it and it's pretty nice the way I made it. I took my time and welded everything together. There's a little bit of body work this thing needs right here. And on the opposite side, it's the same thing. I'm going to fix that. And then I need to check the brakes. I think they're okay from what I saw, but I'll check them. But anyway, that's not today's job. Now, I had gotten rid of quite a bit of lumber here already. Got rid of 2 piles. There was a pile right here which I need to clean up yet, but I got rid of that. And then I had also piles of 2x4's that I sold, and I'm glad I got rid of those. So anyway, I don't think I had a picture of I had a big skid of 2x4's laying here just yesterday, and then I sold them last night. So I need to finish cutting more 2x4's 8-foot. Now what I had here, and I put this log on last night, this is hemlock. You can see that first log has a little bit of a bow in it there, but the worst part about this, I wanted to try to get 12-footers out of this thing. The problem with it is that I wouldn't have got straight ones. You can see where the end of this log starts coming this way, and with this thing on there, it was really coming over here. It was beyond the frame of the sawmill. So I cut that off there last night, and then I cut this into 8-foot. So I'll be working on 8-foot 2x4's today. And my saw is working really good. I had gotten it back from the saw shop. The guy cleaned the carburetor out for me, and that was all it needed. It was like a $22 repair. Runs real good. So anyway, we're gonna start up the sawmill, let it warm up, make sure there's gas in it, and we're gonna start on cutting this log first, and then I'll cut this one later. You can see these logs have a lot of little bites here. I'm not sure what they're from. Some kind of either insect or I want to say maybe a bird, but usually they don't go down into the wood very far. So what we're going to do is see how we look here. Now, just judging by the end of the tree here, this is going to be more nice wood, so we should get some nice 2x4's out of here. So just give me a couple minutes and I'll get this thing going. Okay guys, so anyway, this morning when I came out, it's around 9:30. This morning when I came out, it was 42 out, so it was pretty cool, but it's in the 50s already. So I don't need this right now. It's getting pretty warm out. But anyway, I want to get cutting these pine boards. I want to cut them into 2x4, or pine logs. I want to cut them into 2x4s. Now that first log there that I have, what I got there is at one end it's 11, at the other end it's 15. So there's quite a bit of a variation there. So with that 11 inches, it looks like I can get almost an 8-inch cant. It's actually 7.8. So we're a little shy of a full 8-inch cant here with this first one. But we'll see what we can come up with. If we get a couple 2x4's out of there, I'll be happy. Let me check this one here. So this is 15 at this end, and I should be able to get some 1x12. I'm looking for some 1x12 pine. Yeah, it's 16 down here, so this one's fairly straight. So with the 15 inches there, I should be able to get, according to this, I should get a 10-inch cant. So that's not really what I want, so I'll cut 2x4s out of that. I wanted 12-inch boards, not 7 or 8 inches. I wanted them bigger. So I'll see what I can do with 2x4s out of that first one. So that's what I'll be cutting there. You know, I get a lot of questions about the waviness in a cut. And let me just say this to you. If you have a cut and it's nice and straight, and then all of a sudden you start getting a waviness, there's a number of reasons why you get a wavy cut, but the most important reason is that the blade is dull. Okay, so what you want to do is, if you get a wavy cut and nothing else has changed, I mean, if you haven't, you know, pulled on something or bang into something, or you haven't loosened something on the mill to cause an adjustment out of whack, then I would say change the blade or sharpen the blade and reuse it then. And that's what I usually do. If I get a funny cut, like I have 2 blades behind you on the top of a wood pile there, both of them need to be sharpened, but the one hit a big staple that they use for heavy wire, not the little wire, but heavy wire. The staple was about the size of my finger, and I didn't see it at the bottom of the log. It was driven in. But anyway, or I mean telephone pole, when I hit it, it pretty much changed the set on the saw blade. And once the set is changed and the teeth are dull, it can do anything. You know, it'll grab a hole, go down, it'll go up, it'll do all kinds of stuff. Now, one way that you can stop a wavy cut, or at least slow the size of the waves, would be to cut real slow. If you instead of like me, I usually am in a hurry because all my life it's been all about the money. I mean, I don't like that, but that's the way it is. So the thing is, it's because you were in a hurry, you know, you're pushing the saw through pretty quickly. That's what I normally do. And sometimes, you know, you get messed up. Sometimes the grain in the wood, if it depends on how hard it is. Sweating a little bit here. It depends on how hard the wood is. Now, hemlock is not hard wood. However, the knots get hard. Now you can see there's a bunch of knots in this wood, but none of them are real big. There's 2 bigger ones up there. And depending upon how you're cutting, when you're bringing the saw through, if the saw is not real sharp and it hits a knot, it may deflect up slightly. You know, it might just take the blade and start it going upward, and then the next thing you know, it might start going downward or whatever. The point is that the dull blade causes you to get wavy cuts. Okay, that's the number 1 thing you should change. The number 2 thing would be knots in the wood, depends on how hard they are. Now, you could cut hemlock all day long and not have a problem, and then all of a sudden you get one that starts giving you a wavy cut because the knots are so hard in it. Some of them are very hard. A lot of times in some white oak or even red oak, you'll come across a knot that's really hard, and it makes the saw blade ride on top of it rather than cut it real well. So that's another reason for getting wavy cuts. But the number 1 reason for wavy cuts is the blade is dull. So you've either hit something or whatever. But when I have wavy cuts and a wavy cut, and I want to straighten it out right away, and especially if I'm in a hurry working, I'm not going to play games with trying to figure out what's wrong with it. I'm changing the blade, and 99.9% of the time that straightens out the wavy cut. If the blade is real sharp, you'll cut through some of those knots. You just have to go a little bit slower. If you don't have another blade right away to change to, you can try making another cut, but you got to go slow. You know, you can't go pushing it hard through there. Just got to go real slow through the log. Well, that's kind of a nuisance to have to go real slow, but it is what it is. All right, so anyway, I don't know what I'm going to come up against here. I've got a pretty good sharp blade on there. I'm just going to start to cut. first lug there's got a pretty good wave in it. Bring it down there a little closer so you can see. How thin that got in the middle of the cut there. So I'm not going to get what I was hoping to get out of this, but I will get a couple 2x4's out of it. You can see how badly that thing is bent in here. You know, it's bent inward towards the left side of the mill, so it's going to give me some grief. Roll this over and just well, I'm only taking small pieces out here because I want to try to get the biggest cant out of it I can. So I'm going to roll it over just to see what's going on and cut it down again. That adjusted for the shrinkage or the taper from one end to the other, but it also has a bend in it. So I'm going to be cutting a pretty big piece out of this lower end here. I just want to see how much I can get. This next cut is going to be 9 inches off the cant, or off the bump, and then I'm going to roll it over and cut another inch off to try to get 8 inches. so off of this end, 2 inches off the other end. It's not real bad, but I'll still be able to, I should still be able to get 8 inches out of that. Now let me haul this piece of flitch out of here. I'll be right. Okay, so we've got that cut made. Now we're going to check and just see how flat it is. Yeah, it's pretty decent. So I'm going to roll that all the way over now, because what I've got there, I've got 9 inches there. I want 8, or 8 1/8. So I can roll that all the way over, and then I'll make another cut. That end's a little narrow, but I don't think it'll matter much. If you pull these back stops all the way up, they won't curl down when you roll them. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to come up off the bump 8 1/8 inches. That 1/8 will give me a cut between the 8-inch boards, just in case I go that way with it. So I'll cut 1 inch off of that, and then I'll start figuring out where I'm going to get the boards. Again, this has a bad bend in it right here. You can see this is out here. We're off about 4 inches, so might end up with some 2x4's. Maybe not. Maybe I'll end up with 2x6. We'll have to see here. The one thing I want you to notice is the knots are sort of small on this. They're not that big. This one here is about the biggest one on this surface. They're right about 1 and 1.5 inches. So they're not that big and they're not that hard. So that helps us keep the cut nice and flat. Okay, so we need to turn this now. We've got 8 1/8 inches there. We need to turn this on either side to see what we can get as far as the rest of the cut. We've got 9 inches there. We've got 9 inches on both ends. The problem is this middle is only 7 inches there. So that's 2 inches off of the, you know, the height of the cant that I'm going to have. I don't know if you can see this. Let me just back you up here a little bit. The bed is flat on the saw, and if you look there, you can see it's up off at least 2 inches. So, you know, there's not, you know, and it's in the middle, so there's not a lot you can do to get around that thing. So, I'm going to turn it until, well, the problem with it is no matter how you turn it, this side here is bent the same way. Let me just go down there and make a cut and see how I do here. Now if you take a good look at that, you can see at that end, I came into the bark a little bit down here. But up here, I came away from the bark. Down here, it's not too bad. It seems pretty straight. So whatever that, when I turn that around to that flat side down now that I just cut, that'll give you an idea how big the log or the cant's gonna be. Either way, I've been lucking out with this wood. Look how nice this is. Really nice tight knots. There's two that are, they were dead, so they didn't knit in, but they're very tiny. The rest of them knitted into the cant when the tree grew. Cut 8 inches off of here, but I'll show you that it's not going to be good because of that bend that's in the middle of the log. Over in here, it's too low. It's more like 7 or 6.5. But I'm going to cut it at 8 inches off the buck just to show you that. get rid of this and I'll show you that a little closer then. Okay, so what I've got here now is an 8x8 cant, and what's nice about it is that it's a nice straight cut. However, you can see we have some wane here, and then we have pretty much wane on this side. Now I can cut this. Because of that, there's going to be, and this wane up here really isn't that bad, but because of what we've got here, if I wanted to get really nice 2x4's out of this, I would cut them off. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here 2, 4, 6 inches with cuts, and whatever that first one has on it, it has on it, but the rest of them should be good. So we're doing better than I thought we were going to do with that little bend in that tree. Let me just move this down all the way. And we'll start cutting 2-inch boards out of there. And then we'll stand them up, roll them over, and cut 4 inches the other way. Okay, so you can see here that first 2x4 has weight on it. The rest of them look pretty good. This second one has a little up there. The rest of them don't have barely any on at all. So we got some good 2x4s here, at least 4 or 8 of them. So that's not bad. Alright, so I'll be putting them on the pile. When you're cutting lumber, you know, it doesn't matter where you go. If you go down to Weiss, or not Weiss, Lowe's, if you go to Lowe's, or you go to Home Depot, you're not going to find anything quite as, you know, waney as this. But let me just say to you, you will find some wane sometimes on some 2x4s. And usually it's on the ones that, you know, were right next to the edge naturally. So to get 8 2x4s and one of them be a little rough, I don't consider that a bad, you know, cutting. I consider that fairly good. Now, if I was giving somebody 2x4s just for a specific purpose, I wouldn't give them this. I'd take this and either throw it away or I'd stack it on my pile somewhere. Now, I normally don't keep stuff, especially 2x that look this way. This is a little too waney for me. If I could see some white wood on the top, you know, this side would actually be okay, but I don't have any white wood on the top right here. That's kind of bothers me. But either way, I still got nice 2x4s. So I'm going to go ahead and put them on my pile. And like I say, don't be afraid to make decisions like that, so you end up not wasting your time. I mean, I have a lot of pine logs that I can cut, so I can get all the good wood that I want to. But you know, if you don't have that luck or blessing that I have to be able to have all these trees, then you may, you know, have to take it a little bit easy with what you have and work with it the best way you can. But either way, you know, they came out good. 8 nice 2x4s. Actually 7 nice ones. One is a little rough, but I'm not bothered by that. So I'm just put that on the pile and let it dry. Okay guys, so I'm hoping that you are enjoying my videos. The videos that I made cutting telephone poles seem to be pretty interesting to a lot of people. Now I am going to cut more poles, and listen, if I thought that chemicals in those poles was hurting me, I wouldn't be cutting them. But they're so dry, and these poles were actually made in 2009, and they took them down because they weren't tall enough. They had to add a 3rd set of wires to get to the gas guys, so they took the poles down and put new poles in that were about 10 feet higher. So anyway, I will be cutting more of those logs, you know, those telephone poles shortly. I just need to get some of this other stuff out of my way. So yeah, that was an 11-inch log. To get, if you look on your sheet or you do the figuring, 11 inches doesn't give you quite an 8-inch board, but we were lucky and got that out of that, an 8-inch cant. So looks good. So let me put them away, and then I'm going to be cleaning up this sawdust. I just want to let you know, we were getting a lot of rain the past couple days, and the temperature really dropped yesterday. It was 42 last night, and this morning when I woke up, but then it's starting to warm up pretty good. It's supposed to go into the 60s, maybe the 70s today, and then we're supposed to hit 80 over 2 days after that. So I'm going to make another cut today yet, and then I'll set that up as a second video. But we got some nice hemlock here. We've really been lucky with it. No shake in it at all. Nothing's falling apart. Nothing's bending. Even the boards that are over on the pile over here, I'll show you, are still nice and straight. I'm surprised at that. Of course, like I say, we've had a bunch of rain, so you know the rain's been hitting these. But if you just look at them from the one end here, you can see pretty much how straight those boards are. I mean, this first one has a little bit of a bend in it. It's not much. it's not so much that you couldn't use it for something, and that's, you know, the other ones there are coming out nice. So I'm going to just keep stacking them up. Alright guys, have a good one. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. I'll answer whatever you can. I just wanted you to know also that when I checked the sawmill this morning for gas and oil and stuff, the oil level's still perfect in the chains, or in the sawmill, and not only that, it's still pretty clean. It's not even dark yet. So good running little motor there. I'm very happy with what Woodmizer put together here for us. Alright guys, have a good one.